Inshallah, today we are going to talk about the second phase, which we called or named before as interaction. So, the interaction phase, all the time we are referring to this phase as all the issues and the actions which will take place during face-to-face meeting with the customer. So, in the interaction, we are referring to a stage in which all the various actions or occurrences or deeds or sayings that might happen between the customer and the prospect during face-to-face meeting. Now, if you are going to talk about the skills which should be available in the character of the salesperson, there are 5. Beginning from something called relating. Skill number 2, discovering. 3rd, advocating. Later on, we are talking about gaining access, and we are talking about closing, which is finalizing a sales transaction. Somebody is going to say, what is the meaning of gaining access? Gaining access means the ability of the salesperson to reach at the office of the purchasing officer or the purchasing persons who are having the purchasing authority. All the time, remember, if we are going to talk about a customer who is an organization, in this organization, we will talk about the key personnel who are having the biggest influence of the purchasing decision. These or those key personnel, they are very busy personnel. So it isn't easy to have spare or enough time to meet with them. So what we are going to do, the salesperson might ask the receptionist or the secretariat to take a permission so that they can communicate and meet with these key personnel. But generally, the request of the salesperson will be declined. Why? On the base or on the background that these people are very busy people. So what we are going to do, if you are not going to gain access to these key personnel in the organization, what is going to happen? One thing, which is we will sell nothing. We will sell nothing. Why? Because we didn't meet with our prospects. So what should we do? We should use a very soft, intelligent, and smart language by which we can convince the secretariat or the receptionist to give us a chance or to linkage us with these key personnel. If you are not going to do that, this means your process of sales will be failure and it will not be completed. Therefore, gaining access is a skill which is requiring soft language, smart vocabulary, and ability to convince the secretariat or the receptionist to linkage you or to link you with the key personnel inside this organization. The final skill is closing. Closing is a necessary step in the selling situation, but it is most problematic during transactional type customer relationship. With closing, we defined it before, and we said when we are referring to closing, we are referring to the ability of the salesperson to finalize the sales transaction according to vivid and clear instructions and terms. Is this a skill? It is a skill. Why? Because we would like to anticipate an agreement and we do not want to be surprised by any conflict or anything which isn't calculated. Therefore, everything must be planned, everything must be agreed on in advance without any surprises. Now, what we would like to talk about today is the 4 approaches or the 4 methods or the 4 strategies by which we can meet with our prospect or contact with our prospect. To contact our prospect, we are talking about 4 philosophies or 4 strategies. Well, let's begin with the first one. The first one, we called it the direct personal contact or face-to-face. If you use the word face-to-face, it has the same meaning with direct personal or personal contact. A direct personal contact It is considered to be one of the most difficult approaches or methods through which we can contact with the customer. So it is one of the most difficult one. Why? Because this approach is very demanding. Demanding of what? Demanding of time and effort, so that we are going to succeed in conducting a meeting with our prospect. Now, the most difficult approach without prior attempt to communicate with the prospect. This approach is likely to create problems. So why it is going to create problems? Imagine this situation. Imagine Haneen is one of our targeted prospects. She is working in a company. I am a salesperson. Well, I went to this company without an advance appointment, so that I would like to communicate or contact with her face to face. When I asked the receptionist or her secretary, I would like to meet Miss Haneen, the secretary told me she is busy, even though she might not be busy. Or she might say she has a meeting, even though she doesn't have a real meeting. But why? Because you didn't take an advance appointment with her. So if you are not going to take an appointment with her, is this going to create a problem for us? Of course. So all the time we should have what? An advance appointment. Well, listen. Even if you are not going to take an appointment with her, your company and you are going to lose. Simply why? The receptionist might ask you kindly and respectfully, please wait here. Well, this waiting might be in hours. Hours means our company is paying for the salesperson in vain, without any kind of a productivity. The salesperson is sitting with the crossed legs, waiting for the permission to meet with the prospect or the client. Is he or she doing something beneficiary for the company? I mean the sales company? No. We are still waiting till we are going to have the chance to meet or contact with the customer. So here we are talking about useless time which is paid. Useless time which is paid. Paid by which? By the company. By the sales company. This is one thing. Another thing, remember, each sales company has a product or has a products or services. If the product is dealing or selling, if the company is selling products, each product has its own something called life cycle. Every single hour which is going to pass without selling this product, this means we are shortening the life cycle of the product till we are going to reach something called expiration date. So if the product is going to reach at the time which is called expiration date, this means our sales company must throw away these expired products. But to throw away these expired products, this means we are losing money. So we are losing in the first scenario, and also we are losing in the second scenario. So what is our golden rule? Salespersons, along with their own sales organization, must never waste any single second or minute. Everything counts. Every minute counts. So we must seize the time to the optimal level. Clear? Any question, any comments about this? Okay, are we talking about one approach or philosophy to contact with our customer? The answer is no. So let's contact and talk about the second approach. The second approach, we called it phoning ahead. Phoning ahead means we are going to pick up our cell phone or telephones, and we are going to contact and communicate with our own prospects. We are going to contact them simply because we would like, first, introduce ourselves. Second, introduce our product. Third, introduce our company. Fourth, take an appointment. So phoning ahead is targeting for major things. Introducing ourselves, introducing our product, introducing our company, and fourth, taking an actual appointment so that we can meet face to face with the prospect. Why? Because we do not want to repeat the same mistakes which we committed during face-to-face meeting, which we have just talked about. Therefore, it is very essential, it is very necessary to phone the customers or the prospects ahead to do the various 4 things which we mentioned before a while. Now, the main problem is that it is easy for the prospect or their secretary to turn someone down. Turn someone down means decline over the telephone. So, phoning ahead is achieving or is having advantage. Well, the advantage is they are going to organize our own time. They can organize our own time, or they can help us to reduce the amount of time which might be wasted. However, this approach also, it has disadvantage. With this advantage is here. Somebody is going to say, what is the meaning of this? Generally, whenever you as a salesperson is going to pick up your phone and you are going to contact a targeted prospect, generally, if this prospect is a very important, his secretary or her secretary might respond to your phone call. If the secretary is going to respond to your phone call, she isn't going to transfer the phone call conversation to this prospect. Why? First, the secretary doesn't know you. Second, she doesn't know your company. Then, the probability of declining your phone conversation is very high. So what should we do? Once again, you should use your tongue. What's the meaning of tongue? بمعنى, use a very smart, articulated language so that we can convince her to transfer your phone conversation to her supervisor, who is the prospect. If you are not going to be articulated, if you are not going to use a nice, excellent language, your phone call will be declined, which means you will be disconnected and you will never be given a chance to talk directly with the customer over the phone. Over the phone. Well, this is considered to be what? The major disadvantage of using the second approach, which is called phoning ahead. Which is called phoning ahead. So, you can leave a voice message. This is when it is going to happen. If no answer, if we didn't receive any response. Many of the businesses, they are going to provide you with a service which is called, please leave an automated voice message. Or this voice message, it is a service which it is available to our cell phone conversations. In our cell phone conversation. Regarding the ground telephones, it's very rare to find organizations which is going to provide us with this service. I'm talking here about our country. It's very rare. All the time, they are not going to have a service in the telephone, not in the cell phones, giving you the chance to leave a voice message. Now, anyway, if you were given a chance to speak about the prospect over the telephone or over the phone or over the cell phone, all the time begin by mentioning your name at the very beginning. Then keep the message as short as possible. Finally, state your phone number slowly. Why? To give the recipient the chance to register or to note down your phone number, just in case he would like to dial you back. Just in case he would like to dial you back. This is the technique. If somebody didn't respond to you and you are about to leave a voice message. Any question, any comments about this? Clear? Now, let's go to the third. The third approach by which we can contact with our prospect is something called personal letters. Or personal letters, just simply, we are going to prepare an envelope. On this envelope, we are going to insert our targeted letter and we will send it to the address of our prospects. Sometimes, some of the sales company, they might include with this message or letter a brochure or a commercial material, and everything will be sealed and put in the envelope, and it will be shipped or transferred to the address of the prospect. This is happening regularly and continuously in America, for example. But in our country, it isn't happening widely. Why? Simply because we are suffering from poor mail services. Our mail services are moderate, they are very limited and humble. So, in this case, do you think we are going to depend on personal letters approach to contact with our customers or prospects in Gaza in a very wide way? The answer is no. So, we have to talk about the fourth approach, which is sending emails. Emails or email messages, they are having extra advantages over the voice message. When we are saying voice message, we are talking about phoning or telephone ahead, which means it is possible to send a message at a very little cost in time and money to a large number of people. We can send email message to millions and millions of persons in just a few seconds and with a very minimal cost. So is this a very nice approach to contact with our customer? Of course. The second advantage for the email is giving you a chance as a salesperson to make an attachment. When this attachment, you can insert a chart, commercial material, brochure about your sales organization, and everything which you would like to send through the attachment in the format of email. So if we would like to assess now the four alternatives or approaches of contacting with our customers, which one you are going to pick up? Or in other words, imagine you are going to make an interview as a sales officer in one of the commercial sales organizations in Gaza. During this interview, this interviewer asks you this simple question: what are the major approaches by which we can communicate or contact with our customers? What are you going to respond to him or her? Raise your voice, please. Personal meeting, face to face. Number 2, phoning ahead. Number 3, exactly. If he is going to tell you, evaluate the approach of sending personal letters to our customer, is it a nice step or approach to contact with our customer? Was it applicable widely in Gaza? No. Why?
Because we have
exactly. So, pick up approach, we classify it to be the most economical one. What's the meaning economical one? Feasible one. Approach which can be efficient and effective. Approach which cannot cost us too much money or time or demand. Email message. It is the best. Somebody is going to say, but this isn't applicable to the Palestinian context. No, you are mistaken. According to the last statistics, which was published by the Palestinian Bureau of Statistics, this report, published 1 year ago, the report confirmed that about 70% of the Gaza residents, they have internet accessibility. So if we are talking about 70%, this means the internet is available in every almost house or home. So is it a nice way to contact our customers? Of course. Of course. Any question, any comments about this? This is very important. It is in the exam. Clear? Go on. Now, let's talk about the skills now. We are going to begin talking about relating skills. Now, in relating skills, we are going to look at this text. We will circle words. These words is going to be this. This words is going to include this as well. Somebody is going to say, why you are circling these two words mainly? The first word, it means tension. Second word, it means anxiety. Anxiety means worry. Or tension means stress. So both meanings are negatives. But why we are focusing or using them? Simply because we are going to experiment them, especially in our first meeting with our prospects. or at the few moments or at the very beginning of the meeting. Both you as a salesperson, you are going to be tense, or in return, the prospect will suffer from a high level of anxiety. Why? None of you knows the other. Why? None of you knows what is the message which you are going to have from the other. So the stress or the tension and the anxiety is very high. Is this going to influence your role as a salesperson? Of course, it is going to influence our role. So what should we do? One word. We should put our customer or prospect as something which is called ease. Exactly, comfort. In other words, salespersons must be sensitive and they must not exercise any kind of a pressure or tension or nagging on the back of the prospects. Or give them the time and the space to think and to decide. Or this is reminding us with what we stated in the last classes. What did we say? Don't cheapen your character nor your product. Or keep your personal dignity. Do you remember this? The same thing here. Give the chance for the customer to take his time and space and to think about the offer. Or don't exercise any kind of a pressure over his back or her back. So, the first few moments, as we said, of the selling meeting are important. So why they are important? Because according to these first few moments, the prospects will create something called the first impression about you as a salesperson. So we are talking about first impression. Well, this first impression is something which is very important. If the first impression is going to be positive, then you are going to increase the probability of striking the sales transaction successfully. Yeah. But if the first impression is negative, you might not succeed in conducting this sales transaction. So the first impression are crucial. Well, after the first impression will be formulated in the mentality and in the heart of the prospect, it's very difficult to change it. It's very difficult to change it. So in this case, we have a test. The first impression or the initial impression is going to be positive if you demonstrated to the prospect that you are credible, you are competent, you are honest, and you are likable. You are credible, you are honest, you are likable, and you are competent. If the prospect smells these attributes in your character, he or she will like you as a salesperson. So, all the time, don't ask how are you when the meeting will begin. In our traditional social Arabic context, whenever we are going to meet with a stranger, we will begin by, how are you? In the sales situation, don't use these words. Rather than begin by thanking him or her. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the time which you devoted for us to meet with you. Now, and then directly hand the prospect your business card, which is including your full name, title, name of the product or name of the company, website, and your email and cell phone numbers. Later on, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself. So here we are providing you with an actual example. For example, this is a quote, which means this is an introductory statement said by a salesperson to prospects when in the first moments of the meeting. The salesperson said, "Hello, Mr. Smith. I am Ahmed Muhammad from X company. Thank you for seeing me. I am here today to see if we can help you saving money or save money." Somebody is going to say, how we are going to convince the prospect to save money even though we are coming here to convince him to buy from us? مظبوط? Is this a justifiable question? The answer is yes. But remember, saving money can be achieved. How? We will explain how now. But before we will explain the answer, let's talk about something which might be in the final exam. If the first moments of the meeting between the prospect and the salesperson are going to be crucial and very sensitive, because the prospect will create or formulate the first impression about you as a salesperson, then how we are going to minimize the level of tension, the level of anxiety between the prospect from one hand and the salesperson from another hand? By adopting 3 major means. Number 1, propriety, which means shows a buyer respect, show a buyer or address in a very appropriate way. All these things, the respect and the address in a very appropriate way, it means propriety. We are respecting the context in which we are available in. A second mean, you as a salesperson, you must all the time demonstrate your competence. بمعنى, you are understanding very well the product which you are trying to sell to this customer. You are knowing everything, small or big, and spare parts, all the conditions of the terms behind this product. So, if the prospect will listen to you while you are presenting and talking about your product, you will demonstrate his or your competence. So competence is another tool by which we can reduce the anxiety in the heart and in the mind of our customer. A third tool, commonality. Commonality means to find a shared background by which you and your prospect can join together. In other words, why you shouldn't ask him about his interest? Why you shouldn't ask him about the things which he or she likes? For example, if your prospect tells you, I am one of the big fans for Barcelona team, tell him in return, also I am one of the big fans of Barcelona team. Even though you might not like football. Yeah. But try to create what? A common background. Exactly. This is something very important. All the time remember, this is an instinct in the education and an instinct in the humanity. People like to work together, or people love or like to be with the people who are similar with them. In culture, in attitudes, in language, in everything. Is this the fate of our life? Yes. So all the time try to create a background by which we can create a sense of commonality between you as a salesperson and a prospect. The final tool by which we can minimize this anxiety is something which is called intent. Intent بمعنى النية أو القصد. Intent means reveal your purpose of call, process, and pay off of the buyer. Or be sincere, or be truthful. Say what the buyer is going to pay and how much and in which terms, and how the business transaction is going to be, according to its actual terms and conditions. In other words, be honest. Be honest. So these are the 4 means by which we can reduce or minimize the anxiety in the heart and in the mind of the prospect. This is very important. It is in the final. Clear? Any question or comments? Any question or comments? Now let's return back to the question which we didn't answer, which is, we will answer it. But let's first talk about something called needs discovery skill. In the interaction phase, a salesperson, they must have a skill which is called needs discovery skill, which means a salesperson must be attentive listener. Is this a skill? It's a skill. You might be surprised by what I am stating or saying to you. Many of the people, they do not have the skill of listening attentively to others. They do not want to listen, or they do not know how to listen. You as a salesperson, you must listen attentively. In other words, listen as much as you can as a salesperson. Later on, assess what is the need or the problem exactly. Later on, try to think of the alternative solutions. Or finally, try to recommend the best solution. Is this a skill? It's a very complicated skill which requires a huge training, practice, and experience. Training, practice, and experience. Nobody can know, or nobody can grasp or gain this skill in a very easy way. Okay? Well, this is the meaning of what? Needs to discover a skill. Now, let's come and answer our question. Our question is the following. How we are going as a salesperson, how we are going to demonstrate in our introductory sentence, and we are coming here to save you money. By two things. All the time remember, the buyer will buy from you under two kinds of motives. Motive number one, task motive. Motive number two, personal motive. The task motive, it is subdivided into two kinds of task motives. Number one, productivity, and number one, financially. Productivity and financially. Later on we will talk about them. Regarding the personal motives, we are referring to what? Psychological motives. In other words, we would like to show our psychological feelings and emotions with our own buyer or prospect. Well, let's explain them in a very detailed way. Now let's begin talking about what? The task motives. All the time remember, as a salesperson, the buyer will buy from you under these circumstances. He or she, the buyer, will think, I'm going to buy from you because I have a productivity task motives. Productivity task motives means what I am going to gain after I'm going to buy from you. The buyer is thinking, if I'm going to buy from you, am I going to achieve a kind of more output? Well, output, if you do not like this word, we can use the word quantity. Along with quality. So if I'm going to increase my probability of increasing the quantity of the product or the quality of my product, I will go and buy. So if this is the motive, this means its kind is productivity, task, motive. Also, the buyer will buy from you if he thinks that this business transaction is going to be an easy transaction with less effort, less cost, less labor force, less stocking, and so on. If it is less effort, once again, this is going to be another or a second productivity task motives. Productivity task motives. When we are saying less effort, remember, the effort is connected directly also along with exactly. But we classify it to be what? Productivity task motives. On the other hand, the buyer will buy from you sometimes because of the money task motives. The money task motives is the following. The buyer will think, I am going to buy from you because this is going to be less cost. For example, 10 days ago, my wife phoned me and she told me she would like me to purchase for her a bucket or a bottle of Nutella chocolate. Why? Because there was a commercial offer in Metro. The big bottle costs about 25 shekels. And she told me the offer is in 10 shekels. After I finished my classes, I went and I had it up over there and I bought the bottles. But why? Because of what? Exactly. The buyer is thinking in the same way. The buyer will buy from you if he or she feels this is going to be less costly for him or her. Or this called money, task motives. Or the buyer will buy from you if he or she feels he will gain profit after he will buy from you. Or if he or she will gain a profit, especially if this customer is an organization. This is called what? Money, task, motives. Money, task, motives. Any question about the task motives in the exam? Very important. Let's go to the final thing in the class. We are going to talk about the final one, which is the personal. In the personal motives, remember, the buyer once again, he or she, by the end, is a person, is a human being. Therefore, they have feelings and emotions. In other words, the buyer will buy from you if you, as a salesperson, shows him or her a respect. If he or if you shows a kind of respect to him, you might be able to gain his heart. And by this way, the buyer will buy from you because of personal motives. The same thing, you as a salesperson, you must give them a psychological impression. Nothing will be done without their approval. Nothing will be done without their approval. Or no business transaction will happen without their own power. And finally, we would like to be gratitude or thankful for them. Recognition. All these things must be expressed by the communication language which you are using between you and the prospect. If the prospect are convinced and got these psychological feelings, this means he or she will buy from you according to personal motives. Now, the business transaction will be conducted successfully if you were able to connect the two kinds of motives, the task as well as the personal ones. But if we were able to achieve one kind of motives, also this is going to be good, or for sure you are going to get the business transaction successfully. But if none of them achieved, you will never buy anything. Any question, any comments? Thank you for listening. See you next time.